All right, we're COMP1011, and it's week 8, lesson 8, part 2, and we're going to start Android today. But I want to mention something about why we did this whole UI stuff with Swing. Okay, Swing really is a deprecated framework. Really, we don't use it anymore in general to create UI stuff. I wanted you to learn Swing because I wanted you to figure out how to use classes that already had existed somewhere else, right? Like you didn't make these classes. Well, up until now, we've been talking about object-oriented programming, but you've been making the classes and stuff, and Swing gave us an opportunity to use existing classes and kind of see some of the stuff that already has been planned and deployed by Java. So again, we don't really use Swing in enterprise anymore. It's kind of something that's been old. We use other frameworks. But onto that, we're going to start something more exciting today because let's just face it, guys. The swing of things, no pun intended, is to go towards mobile, right? And if I was going to get you to learn anything when it comes to Java, it's how to program a little bit in Android, right? So if you can do Android stuff, you're miles ahead. You've already done enough Java, so if you were to go into some kind of enterprise, you'd understand the basics of what you need to do. Anything beyond this would just be overkill in some ways. But if you were to go to the enterprise and you had some kind of Android background, creating Android apps and so on, I think it's an extra little feather in your cap. So that's why we're doing it. Now I had to do the other pieces because you need object-oriented programming, advanced object-oriented programming. You need to know classes, inheritance, interfaces, all that stuff in order for us to be successful in Android. And I've done this course before, like I said, and we ran into a kind of a train wreck with some people coming out of intro to JavaScript, or sorry, Java, and then going to do, like actually intro to programming, and then Java 1, which you guys have already done. And this is kind of like Java 2, right? And then when they came to Java 2 from Java 1 equivalent, they were like, holy crap, I did this other course with BlueJ, and now I'm doing this stuff, and we're doing Android, and I'm lost. I don't want that to ever happen again, right? Now, there is a point in time where we might switch near the end of this course, just because there's, I mean, it's project driven. I've got plans that we might be able to do a game in Android, a very, very simple high-level game, right? That's kind of included in the books that we're using, which is Android How to Program, 2nd edition by Deedle and Deedle. That's what we're going to be using for the rest of this course. I'm tempted to try something else and do some other framework, but for now I think I'm going to see how things go as we go forward, because Deedle and Deedle's book, Android How to Program, and kind of unless you have an Android device when it comes to game stuff, as you'll see, the simulator that we're going to run, or the emulator, is very slow, right? And running a game in the emulator is like molasses. Okay, so it might not be practical for us to do such a thing. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so a couple of steps while we start. First things, when you're doing stuff with Android, we have to go on the website. And if I was going to do Android, the first thing I would do, where I would direct you guys, is go, hey, I want to look at Android. So if I talk at Android, there's obviously an Android.com website. And actually what they've done over the years is they've really improved their web presence. They've got some solid API documentation here that we're going to be using throughout the rest of this course, right? They talk phones, they talk everything you want to do. They also talk Play, which is Google Play. And they also have sections for developer and so on. So for example, for developers, there's App Developer Resources, and there's Android Open Source Project, and the Android SDK, right? Let's go to Android Developer Resources, which is something that you need to know where to look. Okay, so right now we're at Lollipop, Android 5.0. Not all people have, kind of switched over to Lollipop. Who's using an Android device here in the class? Okay, what version of Android do you guys have right now? You guys update it, right? Some people don't do that. They're slow to adapt to the latest stuff, and it actually covers about. That's right. So they're not early adopters. That's what we call them, right? What they do is there's only about 1% of users have adopted Lollipop right now. 1 to 2%. Yeah, 1 to 2%.
Well, that's because Lollipop is not out for most of the devices.
That's correct. And that doesn't always work for all devices.
Has Lollipop Red right
Yeah, so some people will still stick with Android 4, a flavor of Android 4X, whatever it's going to be. Some people are even at 2X, right?
And that's for tablets, yeah.
Right? There's some people with, and that's the problem with Android compared to iOS. With iOS, it almost kind of forces you to go forward with iOS. And if you don't go forward with iOS, then what happens is there's certain apps that just won't be compatible with your phone anymore or your device. If you're using like an an iPod Touch as an example, and you want to continue to download apps and other things, then you need to upgrade at least closer to within one version of what you've got out there. But on Android, there isn't a common level that Android forces you to go to. So you have devices that have Android 2.x, Android 3.x, Android 4.x, and now Android 5. That's a lot of different kinds of OS options for Android. Okay, so again, you can learn more here if you want to. It says build apps for wearables. They have creating apps with material design and so on. And if you notice, it says get the SDK, browse samples, watch the videos, and manage your apps. So you can do a lot of learning right here on the Android website. There's all kinds of little tutorials and so on. One of the things we want to do here, because we want to build, we're developers, is we want to get the SDK. Okay? If I go to get the SDK, there's a couple of options. One of them, it says, hey, download this great Android Studio. Guys, not ready yet for Android Studio. Seriously. I like Android. Android Studio has improved leaps and bounds since it came out, right? I still don't think it's quite there in terms of whether I would recommend that you guys download and install Android Studio. I've got Android Studio on my system because I was testing it out, and I can tell you that, again, not really, I don't highly recommend it yet. Going forward, maybe with another version or so, Android Studio might be something that's
similar as the current IDE.
It's similar in terms of how we use Eclipse, but I think Eclipse still would be the standard that I would recommend. Okay, so that's why we've used Eclipse in the past anyway with Java, and not NetBeans for this course, for my course here. I could have chosen to go with NetBeans because NetBeans is quite stable and nice as well, right? And it provides a really nice interface. However, I didn't want to use two IDEs here in the course, so that was another thing I didn't want to do, right? So a couple things, a couple reasons why I'm not suggesting Android Studio. One, I don't want to do multiple IDs. Two, don't think it's ready yet anyway, right? So I recommend we stay with Eclipse with the ADT plugin, all right? And for us to do that, if you look on the left-hand side, we can say how if I want to download or install the SDK, it says right here what to do. So if I install SDK, there's two options here. Again, they try and tell you to use Android Studio. The other option is this standalone SDK tools, which is what we want. So click on standalone SDK tools. Okay, the next package is, if you notice here, read blah, 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 it says you can download and install Android Studio, or you can download the SDK now. I want you to download the SDK now. Now mine says get started on Mac, do these things, right? But you know what I recommend you do is just download the SDK now. When you download the SDK now, there's a couple things you can go with, right? One of them is all Android Studio packages, which we don't want, or up here where it says SDK tools only. There's three platforms it covers: Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. We're going to use Windows for the most part on your Windows installer, the EXE version. For our Mac friends like me, I'm going to be doing both Mac OS plus the Windows installer, so we can do both sides. So you can see Android on both sides, right? And let's see how that goes. Now I've already downloaded the Mac installer on my side, which I will run in a second. But let's do the Windows installer first, because you guys are using Windows, right? So I'm going to just launch my version of VMware. So I'm going to go into Applications and run VMware Fusion, because that's my ticket to Windows. And I'll let that launch while we're talking. So when I'm launching this, it'll give you a chance to download this install, because it takes about, I think it's like, what is it, 40 or 80 meg?
Yeah, it's 87 meg.
87 meg. So it's quite a large package, right? And in the meantime, while this is doing this, I will, when you guys are ready, I will launch my package, which I've downloaded here for Mac. I'm doing it again just to show you the complexities around it, because there's complexities around downloading and installing Android for both platforms. So I want you to understand how to do it for both platforms. And one day it'll download.
What I'm looking not Android Studio, right?
Android SDK, definitely not Android Studio. Don't do that.
Did you download the standalone tools?
That's what I downloaded if you were watching. Right here. SDK tools only. Don't download this stuff. All right, so let's do that the same. Let's do the same thing for the Windows side. So I'm going to just download the installer, and even though I'm on the Mac, I can still download the Windows stuff. I just can't launch it here on Mac. I'll launch it on the Windows side. So it'll download this piece, and while this piece is downloading, I'm going to launch it on Mac. Let's do my launch of the tool. So on Mac, if you're a Mac guy, I just unzip the tools, and I do have a couple of Mac people here. And when you unzip the tools, you know, as an example, if you notice what it says here's my Android SDK Mac OS X. This is what it kind of downloaded and installed. And they give you some directions. Is unpack the zip, make a note of the name and location of the SDK directory on your system. You'll need to refer to this SDK directory later when using the SDK tools from the command line. So my recommendation is put it somewhere where you can use it from a Mac perspective. While I'm finished downloading this, I'll show you what I mean. So on Mac, what you'd want to do is take your Android SDK for Mac OS X, and if you notice, there's several folders within the folder, and put it somewhere like Documents, right? So again, for me, in order for me to put it to Documents, can I drag and drop into Documents? Absolutely. And so when I go into Documents, I have my Android SDK here in my Documents. And this is a good place for it because it's somewhere that's not exactly exposed, not in my downloads anymore, but it's somewhere that I can get at it. Okay, and I'm going to do that, the install here later on. Okay, my Windows installer has finished downloading. Let's download and install that on my Windows. And we'll do this together so that way you guys aren't totally out when it comes to, you know, the speed that we're doing this. Okay, so here's my Windows installer. I say yes. I say next, as an example. It says, hey, Java SE Development Kit. It's going to check to see if I've got, it says version 1.8 has been found. What version is found on your system? 1.8 should be what you see. Because we've already downloaded and installed Eclipse, right? I'm going to click next. And it says, what do I want to install for it? Just for me or for anyone? I recommend just put it for anyone so you have no issues. Click next. And it's going to ask you where you want it to put it. Now, one thing I'd like to check, I'm just going to show you this. It tells me to put it in this directory, program files x86, which is probably the right directory. I can't remember if I've installed it or not, and even if I have, it'll overwrite. But I'd like to kind of look and see, do I even have this thing already? So program files x86, and if I look through here to find the application, do I find Android SDK here? That's the thing you need to do, because if you've already doing this before, as an example, and I'm just going to go back into the installer to tell me where it's looking. Program files, Android SDK. I don't have an Android folder here, which is good. That's a good sign. Let's check also, another place to check if you already have it. If you're someone who plays around, if you're a developer, sometimes we have it on this side as well. Because remember, Java can be installed on both the program files in x64 type systems and on the x86 side. There's both program files. You can put them in either place. So let's leave it alone. And sometimes people put it on the root of their folder as well, like up here on the C drive. So check all these places. Make sure that it doesn't exist because you don't want to install this twice. This is a pain in the ass to install, as you will see. Do you have it installed? Huh?
Yeah.
Well, you don't need it. I would point it at the same place because it'll detect that it's already there. Right? That's what I want you to do. So I want to go next. Android SDK Tools is what it's going to be. I'm going to press, it says do not create shortcuts. I like shortcuts. I'm going to press install. And it's going to include the basic Android SDK stuff, right, that I can use for Eclipse. Now, if you notice, there's an installation process on Windows. My Mac installation is done. Right? Like, really, that's all there is to it for Mac installation. Okay, I've clicked Next, and if you notice, it says Start SDK Manager. right? I think this is a good thing to do. So let's do this. Let's start the SDK manager here on Windows and press finish. Okay, cool. Here's my SDK manager, and I have no SDKs, right? And this is the piece that takes the longest. If you notice right now, I have a couple of them installed. I have my Android SDK tools 24.02, and that's version 5, right? That's what that is for. And version 24, the tools, the SDK tools is what we're talking about, not the version, not the platform. Okay? I have my platform that is already installed. If I was going to install anything, should be version 5. But look at this. Nothing hasn't been installed. And it's suggesting at least version 5 should be in there. Okay, let's make some selections of stuff that we want to install. Who's got a version 4 phone that they use? Anyone? Anyone use Android 4 with a version 4? What version of Android 4 are you using? So we keep the same. 4.2.2. So let's install that one so we can make sure your phone is covered. Okay? How about anyone using any Android 3 device? Please say no. Right?
I have no idea.
You find out what that is. It could be an Android 3 device because sometimes...
4.2.2. Does it cover everything behind it?
No.
Oh.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, guy. Right? You can't select stuff that, if you don't select the option, you don't get it. It's just the way it is. It's simple and straight up, right? Okay, cool. Here's the next one. I recommend we download this old version, 2.33, because it's stable. So version 10, right? And maybe some kind of version 3. I'm going to wait to see if we have version 3 here. Do you have a version 3 on your tablet at all? Check your version. We only want a few of them because once we download, you'll see it takes a long time to download every one of these. If you try and download all these, you're insane. And plus, it's gigs of data. We're talking about 6 or 7 gigs of data that you're going to download. We do not want to do that here. What's that?
I have 6.
Yeah, but it'll take forever. Like you won't be able to work today.
Come on.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Yeah.
4.1.2.
No, I recommend you you install what I'm installing. So install these basics. So at least we have some options for some simple phones.
On 4.1.2.
4.1.2, we're going to also download that because we want everyone to have their stuff. I'm also going to choose a random one of these for Android. I'm going to choose, and again, there's different options, and you can see what platforms they cover, right? Well, you should have 4.1. I'm using Windows just like you, bud. So I'm not going to use 3.1. Let's see if it's 3. Let's use Android 3 just as another option. Okay, so Android 3, 2.33, 3, 4.12, 4.22, and 5. Are we good? Press install 41 packages. Okay, when you do that, it's going to say, hey, you have to accept the license on the right-hand side. And if you notice on the back, you have to scroll down here and make sure there's nothing else you have to install. Like, for example, this one. You also have to install this one. And also this one. And it might not work. Some of these may say, meh. Okay, so all these different, don't forget about this stuff. This is automatically in, right? It's these big ones. This Intel Android sysimage license, this MIPS Android license, because sometimes we need some of that, and this Android license for the SDK. And then press install. If you notice, it's going to take its nice sweet time to install all these things. And while it's doing this, I'm going to stop recording and come back.
How long did you say, how many packages did you say was coming?
41.
41.
Okay, I'm showing 50.
Well, since you haven't clicked on all the one, you have to, right? So I'm going to just stop recording for now, and then we'll come back and do we'll do the Mac side while this one is working. On the Mac side, it's very similar. So let's do the Mac side now. So we've got our SDK, here's our tools, right? And if you look at our tools, we have a bunch of different things here, right, to run. But how do I run these are all the platforms we have in place. If you notice, platforms is empty, right? We have no platforms on the SDK. We need to run the tools to make sure that this thing runs. And we can do it in command line, but the easiest thing for us to do is run it right in Eclipse. How do we do that? Well, we go into Eclipse. Right? If you already have Eclipse installed for Mac, I'm just going to go into Eclipse here for Mac. What you need to do is point your system so that the Android SDK points to this Android SDK Mac OS X folder. And let's do that together. So I'm going to go into, so I've already changed this just to make sure this happens. I'm going to choose my, under preferences, I'm going to go into Android, and it says, where's my SDK location? I'm going to browse to my SDK location, right? So I'm going to go into, and if you don't have this option, you have to download and install Android ADT, which we'll do in a second together. So again, I know it's under Documents. I'm sure you guys are still Android SDK Mac OS X, and press Open. And now when I've done that, I'm OK. And if you notice, it says Open the SDK Manager because I need to update my tools. And then in here, I get the option, the same options that I got before. Now, if you don't got this, right, you need to download and install Android ADT plugin for Eclipse, which we're going to do anyway. So I'm going to do the same thing. If you notice, I'm looking at 5, and I definitely want to pull down, like I said, 2.33. We talked about 4.12, 4.22, and 3.0. That's 41 packages, approximately 41 packages like this one, right? And I'm going to install 40 packages. And I'm going to agree, accept the license, and I'm going to do the same thing here. So if you notice, it's very similar, and click Install. And it's going to take its sweet time here as well. So what I'm going to do is, while we're downloading and installing this, so I don't kill the people who are watching the videos, I'm just going to stop recording.